Aaron Marcus has been a full-time actor and commercial model for over 30 years. He has been cast in over 1,200 acting and modeling jobs. He has been cast in projects such as Gotham, his recurring role on House of Cards, Mr. Robot, Law & Order Project Almanac, Philomena, McDonald's, and AT&T. Aaron's book, How to Become a Successful Actor and Model, is considered by many to be the most important book on this topic. He has given his in-person Book the Job seminar over 600 times, spanning 3 continents. He also sets aside 5 days each month to give private online mentoring sessions. You can read about and order Aaron's book and sign up for his mentoring program at howtoactandmodel.com. Here's Aaron Marcus.
Hi, I'm Aaron Marcus, and I'm really excited about this webinar. I've got a great guest I want to share with you, but let me tell you a little bit about her first. Bailey Slevin is the founder of Entertaining Finance, a business management and financial consulting firm geared specifically towards creatives. She is the perfect combination of finance ninja and theater nerd with 13 years of experience as a financial advisor and a hefty resume in theater. She is redefining planning for artists, freelancers, and entrepreneurs. Entertaining Finance has a commitment to financial education by translating the language of finance into something each client can relate to and understand. Bailey has previously served as a board member for the Tank NYC, Theater Resources Unlimited, TRU, and currently sits on the board of the Path Fund, who produce Rockers on Broadway and raise money for charities that benefit arts and entertainment organizations. You can learn more about her company by going to entertainingfinance.com. Bailey, welcome to the webinar.
So happy to be here.
Great. So let me start off with kind of like coming up just with an idea that I have, and then I want to get into a discussion. Like I know there are lots of actors, artists, talent out there who have this concept and this love of being the starving artist, and I understand it. But I tell you something that I found, at least for me, is that when you are feeling really stressed about money, when you are feeling that you've got to book this next job in order to make rent or pay your mortgage or groceries or whatever it is, it makes an audition, which is stressful enough, even more stressful. So I guess one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and I'm so excited to talk with you about, is it seems like when finances aren't an issue in your life, and I'm not saying, you're going to have so much money you'll never have to worry about it, but you've got your basic things taken care of, it allows you to be a better artist. And so I don't know if that's something that kind of runs through your mind as well when you're working with people, just to kind of help them understand when you have less financial issues going on in your life, it allows you to devote more time and energy to your art.
Yeah, I think the idea of a starving artist is maybe the dumbest thing I've ever heard, just to be completely blunt. I understand where it came from, the idea of suffering for your art, but there are tons of ways to suffer. There's a lot of pain that you can have. And if you are well funded while you are having that pain, you can create the art that you deserve to create and that the world deserves to have. A well-funded artist can create. A starving artist goes looking for food in dumpsters. So the more we have, the more we can give. And I agree, the less pressure you have to put on yourself, that each audition has to come out perfectly, that you have to book every job you go for, that your agents have to be on for everything, that you have to hate your survival job, that you have to call it a survival job. Wouldn't it be nice if that was just part of the business plan? If it was something that you enjoyed that had could go hand in hand with your artistic side. So I think that if we could open up the idea of what being an artist means and get rid of the idea of selling out. There's that part in Sondheim's Merrily We Roll Along where they go, look, we sold out. No, I mean, we sold out. Oh, I guess we sold out. and all the different meanings of, like, we sold out on our art, but we sold out the theater. And then, is it good or is it bad? And changing the connotation of all of that, I think, is really important, because the more we think it's okay, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I would love to see the arts become a self-sustaining industry and not rely on finance, really, to support it, on big donors or big investors. I'd love to see art support art.
Yeah. And, one of the things that must be really tough for you is that when we're talking about artists, it's a really diverse group, and you've got people who might be making, hundreds of millions of dollars, and you might have people who are making $500, or people, I can tell you most SAG-AFTRA actors don't qualify for insurance. Certainly they don't qualify for pension, which means you have to earn $20,000 a year. There's a very small percentage of people who do that. So, it seems like something that must be really tough when you're dealing with artists is trying to help people who might not necessarily have a lot of money make smart decisions with their finances, but also be able to work with people who are making tremendous amounts of money, and also helping them make sure that they are able to hold on to it.
I have always said that the only difference between working with someone who's making 20,000 and someone making 2 million is a bunch of zeros. The concept is the same. We work in percentages. Money and financial planning is percentages. It's not dollar amounts. So whether you're making, like I said, 20,000 or 2 million, you still want to aim to save 20 to 25% of your income. That's the number. Dollar amount, who cares? That's what you aim for. Is it harder to do that when you're making 20,000? Absolutely. So you ease into it. You got to start a savings practice, and starting a savings practice, just like starting any practice, it's difficult and it takes work. I started a meditation practice today, and I texted my brother immediately after, and I said, 1 meditation down, infinity left. And
that's a lot of zeros.
Yep. And he wrote back and he said, 1 day at a time. And that's how financial health starts. So start saving today. It could be $5. If you could save $5 a week, that's one less Starbucks. Anyone can do that. I truly believe that anyone can do that, and you can automate it. So the person making $20,000 can do that. I've also worked with people who have never made more than $20,000 a year in their life, who have zero debt and tens of thousands of dollars in savings. And then I've met with people who have $300,000 of income consistently and $50,000 of debt and nothing in savings. So financial health has nothing to do with income and everything to do about mindset and priorities.
So you're saying you're recommending 20 to 25% just right off the top, put that away somewhere.
Yes, that's the pocket that you want to be in. You could, if you were to save that amount of money and you had no debt, you put it in a savings account, you did nothing with it, you could get to retirement, although that's a concept I don't believe in. And you'd have enough money to live on. The math just works. I've done it over and over again for hundreds of clients at this point. And 20 to 25% is the sweet spot.
Wow. So let's say somebody's interested in working with you. What exactly is the step? The first step, do they email you? Do they go to your website, which I mentioned, at the very beginning? What is the process like to work with someone like you?
I get pretty much everyone through an email, whether it's through the website, an introduction from existing clients, or someone's heard me speak somewhere, whether it's on a podcast or I do a lot of speaking in the New York area. I've just started working with the Institute for Financial Wellness in the Arts, which is really exciting. But it generally starts with an email. And we set up an introductory meeting. I think it's really important that people feel comfortable with me and I feel comfortable with them. This is not a one-off. This should be a very long-term relationship. I joke with people that I'm not going anywhere until they make me. So we want to make sure that we're comfortable. This is a very sensitive topic, and it should be a really safe environment. Once we decide that, yes?
No, please go ahead.
Once we decide that we like each other and we want to get married, business-wise, then I dig deep. I want to know every place that their money is, everywhere it's going, everywhere it's coming from, and why they made all of those choices. And the why of it all is the most important part. So I could see that someone has $300,000 worth of student loans, and I have, but that in and of itself is not really important. What's important is they went to a program that is now allowing them to work and has given them connections. So we really need the context around all of that, but I do a real deep dive into everything. As we move forward, I start then talking about all of the protection elements, insurances, legal documents, to make sure people read bubbles as they move through time. I would hate to work really hard, get people saving and growing money only for them to have an issue with their apartment, and then they have to spend all of the money fixing something that could have been avoided if they had renter's insurance for $23 a month.
So when you were talking about legal things, is that what you mean by legal things as far as like having?
So that would be the insurance piece of it. Legal documents, some of them are estate planning, wills, power of attorney. With a lot of artists, we're talking about contracts, making sure that they understand what they're signing. I once worked with a songwriting duo, and they gave me their partnership agreement, and I read it, which I guess they hadn't in quite some time. And I said, "Do you guys know that this expires in 2 months?" And they said, "It expires?" I said, "It does. And did you know it doesn't include this aspect of the business?" They said, "What do you mean?" And so that's something that we really need to look at so people are protected. I met with someone else who had created a bunch of shows, and we talked about if something happened to him, if he were to pass away, who do those rights go to? Does he want them to go to family, or should they go to another creative person in his life to manage his estate? These are important questions that you don't want to think about when you're, in your 30s, 40s, even 50s, 60s, 70s, but they're really important.
I was going to say, it must be really uncomfortable for people to, be thinking about potential death when they're, in their 20s or 30s. But I guess you really bring the reality of the world in that conversation.
Yeah, I always tell them that's the hardest meeting. We just got to get through it, and then we can talk about the fun stuff like investing and the real planning of how we're getting to retirement, if they want to purchase a home. So we talk about all of those target-based plans, and then just generally, how do we get them to grow as much money as humanly possible?
I would think like for most artists, that must be so far removed from their normal thinking of, having this game plan, having this path to go on. Because normally, look, we're just involved with creating our art and not really thinking about life insurance and wills and estates and things like that. So it must be a little bit of a shock for people first time around, and I wonder if it's even like a little overwhelming during that first meeting for some folks.
It definitely can be. I will say that I see this great trend that I've been working with a lot of people in their 20s. And they're really excited about creating a financial plan. They are seeking me out and coming in with goals They know that they don't know that they want life insurance, but as we go through it, they see it as a tool. They're talking about supporting families, families that don't exist yet, and even their parents who maybe didn't do as great a job with their finances as they were growing up. So the younger generations are actually more in tune with what they need financially than the older generations. The millennials are good for something right now.
Hey, millennials are doing a lot of great things in this world. I think in many ways they get a bad rap because there are some millennials who have changed the world. So anyhow, I only have nice things to say about millennials.
Yeah, I like them.
Hey, so what I'm curious, so if someone is thinking about meeting with you, and once again, or for any kind of, see, you're it seems like you're almost more than just a financial advisor. I mean, you seem like you are kind of a lot of things rolled into one, whether it's a consultant, it's an advisor. It's almost like in some ways, it's really almost like a life coach in the sense of let's get your life in order. And I know you're certainly you're not labeling yourself in that way, but you really are. You're not just looking at money. You are looking at a lifestyle and a way for someone to live their lives. So, what would be an important thing for someone to do to prepare before meeting with you?
I think to really think about what they want to do in life and examine what they know about money and where they learned it, so we can have a conversation about that. It's important to identify preconceived notions and where they come from. Most of them come from our parents because there isn't much education. But for people to spend some time thinking about that. I mean, there's also gather your documents, make sure you know where everything is. But sometimes there's some guidance that people need on that. People don't know where their old 401ks are. People don't remember they have old 401ks. But to gather what you can and then really think about the objective for the meeting. That's the big thing.
And are there questions that you would like to hear when people are doing that initial meeting with you, or are there questions that turn you off and make you think, I don't think I really want to work with this person?
My favorite question to get is when people ask me how I get paid, because that means they're thinking about their finances in a very realistic way. So that.
And how do you get paid?
I can get paid in a number of ways. I'm set up to either be a fee-based advisor or a commission-based advisor. So I offer clients both alternatives. They get pretty much the same service either way. It just depends on what they're most comfortable with. And those are the two options that are available in the marketplace. Some advisors go solely with one or the other. I leave it up to the client and depends on their individual preference.
And are there certain questions that make you cringe and think, maybe this really isn't going to be a good match?
If someone, really the only one that ever made me cringe, if someone came into a meeting and opened up a Susie Orman app and started running down her list of questions to ask a financial advisor. And I entertained it, like for amusement's sake. And then at the end of the meeting, I believe I said, I don't think this is going to work, but I wish you all the best.
I can understand that. How about as far as like, would you feel offended in any way if someone, and maybe they could have done the research, but they're sitting down with you and they say, so what kind of experience have you had? Where did you go to school? Where did you get your degree from? Is that something that's pretty typical, or do you view that as, hey, this person could have just gone to my website and gotten all this information?
I actually give all that information in the first meeting. the same way that I'm asking clients to share with me, I share with them my training, how I got into the business, where my degrees are. It's an interesting story of how I got into the business, very roundabout. None of my degrees are in finance. So I like to share that with them so they understand where I'm coming from. And I also tell them that that informs how I give advice. And I try to share with clients when they're hearing my opinion and when I'm sharing with them facts. I use a lot of calculators that show a lot of graphs and pictures. So most of the advice I'm giving is backed by math. And then there's color that's added by my opinion. So I think they need to know who I am and where I've come from so that down the road when I'm giving them my opinion, they understand that. So the more they want to know about me, without, being rude, I'm happy to share with them.
Well, actually, if we could just take a minute here, because you do have a really interesting story. If you would just take a couple of minutes and just talk about how in the world you went from the arts into this kind of work.
Yeah, I'll give you the abbreviated version because I could go on for hours. So I started adult life graduating from college with a BFA in theater management and production from Emerson College. Came to New York. I grew up in New Jersey, so I was coming home, and got a job at a talent agency. And I was stage managing equity showcases nights and weekends, as you can only do when you're in your 20s. I don't know how I worked those hours. I got a little burnt out at the talent agency because all I did was answer the phone all day and tell people no. Because actors would call up and ask if they could hire an agent, and I would have to explain to them that that's not how it worked. It was so sad. It was so sad. So I went back to school for massage therapy in the city, the Swedish Institute, which I think has a fancier name now. So I did that while I was also stage managing, and that was great. I figured who wouldn't want to hire a stage manager who had a degree in massage therapy? I thought I would book every national tour. And a national tour is the best way to save $50,000 in a year. 3 weeks before graduating, I was in a car accident and I shattered my right elbow, really my right arm. The humerus was in 5 different pieces. So thankfully the doctors put it back together, but it took a lot of healing. I was in physical therapy for about 1.5 years afterwards. So as I was healing immediately after the surgery, my arm was locked in a 90-degree angle. I was on a lot of painkillers and in physical therapy 3 times a week. I couldn't stage manage. I couldn't massage. So I was at a little bit of a loss for what to do, and I was lying on my parents' couch all day. And after a couple of weeks, my parents came in and they said, "We love you very much." And I said, "Oh, I love you too, guys." And then they said, "Are you going back to work anytime soon?" And I said, "I don't know what I could do. I can't do anything I'm trained to do. I can't go be a temp. I can't even work at McDonald's because I can't move my arm. I would literally have to pick it up with my other arm to move it." They said, "You raised some good points. We'll get back to you." And my dad came in the next day and he said, "You're going to come work for me and you're going to fill out paperwork," because thankfully I'm left-handed and that arm was fine. And he was a financial advisor. He still is a financial advisor. He used to be a songwriter, and then shortly after I was born, he decided that he wanted to make more money and became a financial advisor, although he still wrote parodies that he would perform at the large conventions, and became a little famous in the industry for that. And now I perform them with him every so often.
Oh.
Yeah. So I went with him. I started filling out the paperwork, and after the first couple of days, I said, "Dad, I don't know what I'm filling out, and that feels irresponsible to me." And he said, "Well, sit in the training classes." I said, "Okay." And in the first training class, I learned about time value of money. Essentially, the idea that every dollar you spend is a dollar that you're not investing and keeping. It's not able to grow and work for you in the future. So I did a calculation once of that if I bought, it was a Starbucks grande soy chai latte, which is my favorite drink at the time. And if I got one of those 6 days a week, and if inflation and Starbucks was moving up the price at 3% each year, and I was going to keep doing that for 30 years, that one, just dollar wise, I was going to spend $80,000 on chai lattes. But the time value of money, if I had been able to invest that money at 4%, would be another almost $70,000. So in essence, buying those coffees, those lattes, was costing me almost $150,000. No one ever taught me to think like that. It was this different language. And my mother picked me up after that training class, and I went, I've been working in theater so long, I forgot that I like money. I like having it. I like spending it. I like knowing about it. I like learning about it. And I started training with my dad as a mentor. I went and I got licensed, and I started working with my friends who were in theater. I went back and forth for a little while between theater and finance, and eventually came to the conclusion that I could work and I could train and I could be an amazing stage manager. I was entering into general management also. And I looked around and I said, there aren't enough jobs already for the people who are amazing at those things. I'm also a really good financial advisor, and I could work to be amazing at that. And there's no one else doing it. And in the 12 years that I've been doing it, 13, there's no one else doing it. Wow. It's only in the past few months that the Institute for Financial Wellness in the Arts has come to be, founded by Darren Sussman, who was the founder of Theater Mania and Ovation Ticks. I've started working with them. That's the only other place. I've been a lone wolf, so.
That's an amazing story. It really is. Because, most financial advisors know absolutely nothing about the industry. Our industry, the acting, entertainment industry. And so to have someone who not only is incredibly sharp with how to handle your money, but also has a real heart and understanding and a soul for what it takes to be in the industry, it's just a really incredible combination. Now I'm kind of curious, do you ever talk with people if they're coming in and they are clients and they're saying, man, work has just been dead. I know, we talked, I was going to set aside a certain amount, every paycheck or every month. I'm just not getting the jobs, either very few auditions or I'm just not booking the jobs. Do you ever talk to clients about maybe some kind of alternative jobs that are still in the industry, but something that just popped into my head, and I don't know if you're familiar with like standardized patient work or basically, that's a good example of actors who get hired or role-playing jobs, people who get hired either by hospitals or by law schools, and they bring them in and they are given a role to play and things like that. So is that something you ever discuss with people, or is that just more of a private conversation, or is that something you wouldn't even attempt to discuss in your role as an advisor?
I don't discuss it in my role as an advisor, but I have had those conversations as we've wrapped up the advising meeting, and with clients that I become close with, where they're friends, and we sit for another half an hour chatting and brainstorming about what they can do with business or how they can grow careers or create a larger business plan for themselves and other ways to market what they can do and generate some income. So not so much advice on it, but a sounding board to help them hone in on what it is they think that they want to do. And because I do meet so many people, I'm in a unique position that if they come up with something, I might be able to connect them to someone who can help them with that.
Oh, that sounds really incredible. And even things like if somebody comes to you and says, "Look, I've got young kids. I want to start saving, up for college education," and those are things that also would be discussed along the way, as in addition to just their own personal savings.
Absolutely. Sometimes I'm the one who brings it up first. I hear someone has a kid, and immediately I'm like, how soon before I can bring up college planning? Is 6 months? Is that stressing them out too? Because I know it's not too soon. So it's kind of a race as to who brings that up first. And I was meeting with a client today who's 26 and doing really well for herself. So I asked when she was thinking about purchasing real estate, if that was something on the horizon. And she said she wanted it before she was 30. So it was something that I knew could be there that she might have not even thought to bring into the conversation. A lot of times, because I've seen the life cycle, I know what's going on. Even if people, clients who are talking about wanting to get married and wanting to have kids down the road, that's something that I keep in my notes and I know and keep in mind as we're doing the planning to make sure that it's set up so that we can layer that piece on top of what's already going.
At the very beginning, I know you were kind of playing around with the word of marriage, but actually, I think that's a really important term that you brought up. And I was just thinking, and maybe you can address this, and I know that we're going to wrap things up. When somebody's meeting someone new for the very first time, and I guess it is like a blind date, and you're trying to figure out, is this going to be a good match for us? And I'm kind of guessing, or maybe you can tell us, are there specific things that someone could do to make sure that the person, the company is reputable? I don't know, like where you go to try to look that up, whether you ask for references. And once again, I don't know whether if it's somebody who's dishonest, they'll just, give you their brother and sister and in-laws or whatever it is. But and actually I would like to hear that, but I guess ultimately we're talking about some of the most important things in our lives here. And I would think that being able to feel comfortable and having a personal connection, you don't have to be in love with the person, but you have to feel safe with the person and be able to open up and share very intimate details about your personal life. I would assume that that would be a major factor as to whether someone wants or should be working with that particular advisor.
Yeah, the tricky thing with websites for financial advisors is there's a ton of compliance. Our legal departments, as you've seen, have us jump through hoops. So a lot of us don't have individual websites, or they're very simple and might just be a homepage. So that can be tough. If you really want to go looking for infractions, you can look on FINRA, their website. You can do a broker search, and that will show you if they have any black marks on their history.
Is that FINRA?
Yep.
Okay.
It's one of the governing bodies for investment advisors.
And sorry to interrupt, but I would think, like with a lot of things in this world, you could get a couple of crazy clients who are just upset about something that the advisor really didn't do or had nothing to do with, or the person didn't, comply with what they said, and they're angry. And then they all of a sudden they start going to websites and start ranting and raving and complaining. So I guess even with that, sometimes it might be hard to know 100% for sure whether, how accurate it really is.
Well, this is actually, it's not an open forum. In order to get a complaint published like that, there is an official process that you have to go through.
Got it. Okay.
So if it's on there, it's gone through all the proper channels.
Got it. Okay, great. Well, that's good. That's great to know.
Yeah. Even then, sometimes it's not a huge deal. So if you see one, that doesn't necessarily mean the advisor's bad. If you see 5, I'd be wary. But then again, that's my opinion.
Are you allowed, excuse me for interrupting you, but are you allowed to, I guess maybe if somebody agrees to it, to give out clients' names as references?
Yeah. I've had people ask me for references, and then I've gone to clients who I feel are similar to the person who has asked me for the reference, and ask those clients for permission if they would be willing to be a reference, and if it's okay to give out their email address or their phone number, which one they would feel the most comfortable with, and if it was okay to do an email introduction, or if they'd prefer just to have me give the new client or the new prospect that information, have them reach out on their own.
And that's something that you would recommend somebody do that as well for, other people they're investigating, to possibly work with?
They could. I haven't run into this in years, because at this point my clients come in 90% by referrals.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for you. I meant if somebody was just, trying to find a financial advisor in general, whether asking for, a recommendation, if that's.
Yeah, I haven't thought about it in so long that I may not be the best to answer that question.
Okay.
But even if someone's looking for a person, due diligence, I would say ask your friends or go to other professionals, ask your accountant, ask an attorney. They would be great references to say, this is a good financial advisor. That's even how I get introduced to accountants and attorneys. I ask my clients, who do you love? What accountant is your favorite? And that's how I start working with other professionals. So it works both ways.
Those are great ideas. I hadn't thought about doing it that way. Yeah. And I could see why most of your clients, it's word of mouth. And when you do great work for people like to share that information and tell their friends about it. So that makes sense. So it sounds like really those are the key things to do. If you would you just give out your website again, just in case people want to get a hold of you?
Yep. www.entertainingfinance.com.
This was great. Thank you so much, Bailey. I know your time is crazy and stuff, and I just really, really appreciate you taking the time, just sharing this incredible information, and more so just for all that you're doing for people in the entertainment industry. You are a very unusual person with what you are doing, and to do so many great things for us. I just really appreciate it and just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. I love what I do. I'm lucky to have found something that hits everything I'm passionate about.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Well, hi, that was really incredible. As always, if you have any follow-up questions, you can always get to me through either facebook.com/howtomodel or my email address, aaron@howtoactandmodel.com. If you are interested in working with me privately, you can always check out my howtoactandmodel.com/mentoring program. I'm Aaron Marcus. Can't wait to talk with you again soon. See ya.
Bailey is a registered representative and financial advisor of Park Ave Securities, LLC, OSJ, 52 Forest Avenue, Paramus, New Jersey, 07652, 201-843-7700. Securities products and advisory services offered through PASS, member FINRA SIPC. Financial representative, the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, New York, New York. PASS is an indirect, wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Entertaining Finance is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PASS or Guardian. This podcast is for informational purposes only. HowToActAndModel.com is not affiliated with or endorsed by Pass, Guardian, Entertaining Finance, or Certified Financial Services, and opinions stated are their own. 2018-69120, expiration 10/20.